welcome those of you who've been watching the New England-Miami game. Bob Costas with Ahmad Rashad and Paul McGuire. We'll take you to highlights of that one, which the Dolphins lead 21-14 in the rain as they've come up to halftime. And then we'll get you updated on everything else that's going on around the National Football League. Umbrellas definitely the order of the day in a downpour that has lasted throughout. The rain was a factor early. The bad snap, Reggie Roby having trouble picking it up, hit by Rod McSwain, and the Dolphin punter, one of the best of the league, injures his knee, and Don Strock, the veteran backup quarterback, becomes the punter. We're about to see Strock's first ever NFL punt. It carries 33 yards. Irving Fryer fields it, but eventually he will fumble, and Jim Jensen will recover it. The Dolphins have 4 quarterbacks: Marino, Jaworski, Strock, and Jensen. Unusual, but Strock and Jensen are versatile, and they both come into play on this one. Following that change of possession with the Jensen recovery, it's Marino back to work. Mark Duper is on the receiving end, one of 2 he caught in the first half for touchdowns. Marino threw for 3. Steve Grogan threw a 17-yarder to Irving Fryer to close the gap to 21-14 at the half. Ahmad, is it tougher to play on natural turf in the rain where it gets muddy, or on artificial surface where it gets so slick?
I always found it was tougher to play on artificial surface because you're right up on the surface and you can't get any, you can't dig in. But it's a receiver's dream to play in a game like this because one slip by a defensive back ends up in a big play. So you'll find that in games like this, they usually try to throw the ball, and they have thrown the ball in this game 4 touchdowns by the air.
All right, Ahmad, one of Paul McGuire's Super Bowl picks, the San Francisco 49ers, isn't starting out too well. They're at halftime in Pittsburgh. Gary Anderson just hit a 50-yard field goal to open the Steeler lead there to 17-3. The Jets and the Bills in Buffalo tied at 7. The Jets have just scored. The Jets have just scored a touchdown, so it's 13-7, pending the extra point. Let's take a look at some of the earlier action on a beautiful sunny day at Rich Stadium, and a crowd of better than 80,000 was on their feet after this play. Out of the shotgun, Jim Kelly to the former USFL and San Diego Charger player Trumaine Johnson sidesteps a tackler. In he goes, 26-yard score, 7-0 Bills. But Ken O'Brien, looking to shake off the nightmare of the last 6 or 7 weeks of the '86 season, steps up and throws long for Wesley Walker. Watch the catch by the great veteran. 55-yard touchdown, tied it at 7, and the Jets have just scored and kicked the extra point to take a 14-7 lead. They are moments away from halftime in that game. The Eagles and the Redskins at RFK, second quarter, tied at 10, and the story there is injuries. Jay Schrader, a bruised right shoulder, so the Redskin quarterback leaves, replaced by Doug Williams, who throws a 6-yard touchdown pass to Art Monk. The Redskins also lost their #1 place kicker, Jess Atkinson, but they have Steve Cox, who is their kickoff man and long field goal artist, so Cox is able to step in and replace Atkinson. Cleveland and New Orleans, they've reached halftime. Bobby Hebert has a touchdown pass, as does Bernie Kosar. The game is tied at 7. The Cowboys and the Cardinals approaching the half at Busch Stadium. Field goals by Gallery of St. Louis, Ruzek of Dallas, even at 3. The Chiefs and the Chargers, halftime at Arrowhead. The Chiefs' special teams and running game. The story as they take a 10-0 lead. Al Saunders of San Diego, league's youngest head coach at the age of 40. He'll watch Dan Fouts be intercepted a couple of times by Duron Cherry. Cherry, one of the best free safeties in the league, denies them a touchdown here with the interception in the end zone. That was his second of the day. Christian Okoye will be featured on this next play. He's their second-round draft choice out of Azusa Pacific. The 250-pound Nigerian, he goes 43 yards for a touchdown. They took Paul Palmer, the Temple running back, in the first round. So for the first time, perhaps since the days of Joe Delaney, they've got a running game in Kansas City, Paul.
Bobby, they haven't had a running game in 6 years, and finally they have one. In preseason, they averaged over 220 yards per game rushing. So far in the first half, over 100 yards. This team is for real.
What about the quarterback situation? You picked Kansas City, shocked us all, to go to the Super Bowl. Blackledge or Kenny? Blackledge the starter now.
Blackledge will be a good quarterback because of the running game. He'll only throw now, not when he has to, when he wants to.
All right, we want to get you updated on the rest of the scores, so let's turn quickly to the Rams-Oilers game. 13-0 Los Angeles coming up on halftime in that one. You may have heard the reports out of Houston. They say that Bud Adams, the Oiler owner, has them pointed toward Jacksonville. In fact, some newspapers in Florida have been saying it's a done deal, that the Oilers will be in Jacksonville for the '88 season. Cincinnati playing at Indianapolis, a 13-7 lead for the Bengals at halftime in that one. The Falcons are at Tampa Bay, and look at this, 27-3 Buccaneers at the half. 4 touchdown passes for, no, not Vinny Testaverde, Steve DeBerg, the veteran who's holding down the position until Testaverde is ready. It's a Buccaneer record for touchdown passes in a half. And the Lions are playing the Vikings in Minnesota with a 16-10 lead for Detroit at halftime in that one. And the Redskins just scored, so they've snapped the tie against the Eagles. The Redskins 17, Philadelphia 10. More after this from your local stations. Back to NFL Live. In his capacity as a feature writer for Sports Illustrated, Frank DeFord turned out a story several months ago about the Green Bay Packers. He spent a week in Green Bay at that time, and he found a team in turmoil. James Lofton was right in the middle of it, and a football team that, in terms of the standings, was on its way down. After an 8-8 1985, they went 4-12 a year ago. Well, James Lofton has left. He's in Los Angeles. But as fate would have it, the schedule maker brings him right back to Green Bay for Week 1. The Raiders play the Packers a bit later on NBC. So it is ironic, Frank.
It certainly is, Bob. I think in Green Bay this afternoon there may be more interest when the visitors first go on offense than in the final outcome of the game, and that's because James Lofton is returning to the little town on the Fox River in a different uniform. Until very recently, Lofton was the golden boy in Green Bay, Stanford graduate, model citizen. He and his wife Beverly, a bright and beautiful woman, were an esteemed and loving couple. And then, out of the blue, Lofton became publicly sexually involved with other women in 2 very unsavory incidents. Technically, only alleged. He was never convicted of anything illegal. But to say the least, James Lofton exhibited terrible judgment and, shall we say, bad manners. Disgusted and baffled, the Packers shipped him to the Raiders, home for all lost boys. But for Green Bay, for the fans, what is most important about Lofton now is that he is a symbol of their beloved team. The Packers have won more championships than any other NFL team, but now they're a franchise in ashes. In frustration, the team has picked up a reputation for bad actors. Remember Charles Martin savaging Jim McMahon? Mossy Cade, a cornerback, was convicted of sexual assault later on. A major Wisconsin politician even joked that the new state penitentiary should be located in Green Bay so that the Packers could walk to work. For the future of the team, it's not insignificant either that Lofton is black. The NFL is now better than 50% black, and in all other franchise cities, there are large, comfortable minority populations. But Green Bay, the whole area, is virtually all white, just as Oshkosh and Fargo and Boise and Bangor and all other small cities across the northern United States. Understand now, Green Bay isn't racist, no more so than any other white community. But blacks simply feel uncomfortable there. They can't even get a proper haircut. Any black man seen in the area is, as the old expression goes, either a Packer or passing through. Besides, young men, be they black or white, American, Korean, or Portuguese, young men traditionally like big cities and bright lights. As soon as their season is over, though, the Packers clear out, which puts their team at a disadvantage. For more and more on all other NFL squads, many of the players stay behind in off-season, working out together, working into the organization and the community. Understand now, Green Bay is a wonderful little town full of lovely people, but most of them appreciate that not even the sainted Vince Lombardi could wave a magic wand there anymore. What must be so frustrating for the good fans of Green Bay is that, for all his troubles, James Lofton has the opportunity this afternoon at Lambeau Field to begin to turn it all around again for himself. But, Bob, it ain't so easy with the Packers' own future.
Frank, thanks very much. We're going to get a quick response from both Ahmad and Paul to it, beginning with Ahmad. Green Bay was a place where they put together championship teams in the 60s. But as that time passed, is it difficult to attract and then keep the kind of players that will build a championship tradition now?
Evidently so, because they haven't really been able to put together a good team in quite some time. You talk about a city that has had more championships than any other city, but that's in the past, and football is a now sport. It's quite strange that a lot of people don't want to play in Green Bay, but I find in professional sports, if you win, it doesn't matter where you play, and their big problem there is winning. They can't do it.
If the Packers had a winning team right now, you're saying that black athletes would be just as happy to go there as any place else.
Exactly right. The key in professional football is winning, and when you win, there are no problems. When you lose, you have all these problems that pop up all the time.
But there's a legitimate point there, however, about Green Bay, not alone in this regard, but maybe alone among NFL cities, because it's so clearly the smallest of the 28. It's not an ideal place for a young black man to be.
No, it isn't. But if you're winning, it's much better than being in New York losing. So it really doesn't have anything to do with color, I don't think. If you win, that's all that matters. If you can go someplace like Green Bay, then you win.
All right. Thanks very much, Ahmad and Frank. And we'll continue with NFL Live halftime activities in just a moment.